Your article, The Face of Bitcoin Has Exploded. Were you expecting that? Were you expecting the kind of response that it's gotten?
That's a good question. I was expecting a lot of discussion in the wake of the story. I definitely didn't expect people to see it as an act of war on Bitcoin or on Satoshi Nakamoto himself. In fact, during the course of interviewing his, the people close to him and family, I became very fond of a lot of, his closest and nearest and dearest are actually really lovely people. And I developed a very protective sense toward them. So it's hard to hear people say that we might not care about them or about Satoshi, who, in my mind, invented something that is shaping the world.
You talk about the anonymity of Bitcoin being, it's one of the cornerstones of the Bitcoin protocol, something that Satoshi seemed to have been very, you cared about it a lot initially. Do you feel that identifying him goes against perhaps what he initially intended with something, as you say, shaping the world?
Well, I guess the fact he posted under his own name hundreds of statements on the Bitcoin Talk forum, he certainly didn't want to be completely anonymous, because he certainly went ahead and made statements and posted the name Satoshi Nakamoto. So insofar as he wanted to remain anonymous, I suppose maybe you would not do that. However, if he has now left the scene, which he seems to have, and he confirmed to me he had, should we now leave him alone? Yes, of course. I think that's okay. I do think also, though, that when somebody invents something that shapes the world, to want to know who he is and where he came from and what informed his invention is natural. I mean, it's definitely natural to me, and I hope no one sees that as an act of hostility. It's definitely something that is not meant that way at all.
Gavin Andersons, who you spoke to, you interviewed, you tweeted earlier today, I'm disappointed Newsweek decided to dox the Nakamoto family and regret talking to Leah. Do you have any kind of response to that?
I'm still playing catch up on words like dox.
Oh, okay.
But I think I understand what that means.
To dox is to push, to identify people, throw it out into the internet ether.
Yeah, so I mean, again, well, first of all, I can understand Gavin's statement, and Gavin and I haven't spoken yet since the story came out, and we will speak, but the idea that we hauled information out onto the internet that wasn't already sitting on the internet, which it all was, is a fallacy. The photo of him, he posted himself on the internet publicly for anyone to see, and all of the data that we put up was publicly available. If you Google his name, you will find all of the things that we put up. So I think in one way you could say, yes, could we have just not done it? Yes, but somebody else would have, and it would have looked like we hadn't done our homework either. So this is a very difficult conversation. Insofar as I could leave out key details, for example, his children's names. There were 2 children we interviewed, but we left out all the younger children. We didn't discuss, minors. Things about his family that obviously we shouldn't talk about weren't talked about. And there's, when you interview a family, there's all kinds of things that you learn that you aren't necessarily going to talk about in a story that's more about learning about the world, not about learning about a specific family. So the focus really was on Bitcoin, not on the individuals. But we wanted to show his humanity. We wanted to show he lives a humble life, that he has hobbies, that he is a person like you and me, and not this faceless inventor on a pedestal. He's a person. And I think the fact he created something so amazing and such an achievement, and then is this humble person, I thought was very inspiring, and I hope it wasn't misunderstood, because it was meant to be a story that would make someone say, wow, I guess, maybe I could be the next inventor.
There's obviously been there's been backlash from the Bitcoin community. Do you feel like it would change anything in retrospect about the article? Anything that the way you approached it?
I think there were things that I did not have control of in the story that I think were adjusted already. And, of course, when you can put things on the internet, things can be adjusted.
Yeah.
You can say, well, maybe we shouldn't have done that. I think the one thing that was meant to have been done that didn't get done was, I think we meant to blur out the license plate on his car, and I don't know if that was an oversight, but I think we agreed that that was a good idea in the aftermath. So, feedback matters. We do listen, and the idea of, an apology and capitulation, I mean, this man is very newsworthy. What he did is very newsworthy. Of course, we're all wanting to know more about him, but should we be invading in his privacy, or should we now all be sitting on his lawn? Of course not. And I think he is certainly entitled to live a quiet and peaceful life, and I hope he does.
What do you think this means for the future of Bitcoin?
Wow. I actually was happy about the information in many ways was inspiring to me. It could have been so many other things, but it could have been, just a rich man who had nothing better to do and did this. And that's not as fun a story as someone who seems in many ways to be humble. And this man is he's a great lover of nature and engineering and the beauty of technology. And he almost has this curiosity of the whole world. And, talking to those close to him, it seems clear that he doesn't always relate to other human beings very easily. He's very much he's a maker of things. He has a very engineering mind, but he definitely is interested in humankind and issues around humankind and, and things that affect the world and humans. And to me, that was just fascinating. The fact that he had worked in classified work for the government and for U.S. corporations that we don't even really know that much about. That to me was sort of satisfying as well, because I mean, you got the feeling this man understood things about being anonymous, but how did he learn that, or where did that all come from? So I think it satisfies from the questions. Are there a lot of unanswered questions? Yes, and I'm not even sure if this is the final word on Bitcoin. I think that there may be a lot more to come.